Welcome to Hannity. The race for 2016 is in full swing, and despite taking criticism from almost every direction, Donald Trump has seen a remarkable rise in the polls, driving him to the top of the crowded GOP field. Now, earlier, I had a chance to sit down with Donald Trump. Take a look. Mr. Trump, great to see you again. How are you?
Thank you.
All right, let's start with the elephant in the room. The Fox issue is resolved, and how did that come about?
Well, I have a great relationship with Roger Ailes, and actually I didn't understand what went wrong because I felt it wasn't really, I was not treated fairly, and Roger called me the other day, and it's absolutely fine.
Let's go to the polls. Two new polls out today. One shows you up in Iowa. Another shows you up in New Hampshire by a pretty significant margin. You had a poll yesterday that showed you up in Iowa. National polls, you went up in the NBC poll. All post-debate. What do you make of that? Why
well, I think I won the debate. I mean, everybody tells me I won the debate. They did polls of the debate itself, and I was in the 60s and 70 percentages, and I think that I won the debate. I love doing it in a certain way. I will say this for the last time. I don't think I was treated fairly, but these are minor details. I really had a good time doing it. It was very interesting. I've never done a debate before like that. My life has been a debate, but I've never done officially a debate. And it was really great. I got to know the candidates, and I got to like some of them a lot. I think they're terrific people, and others probably not as much, but that's the way life goes.
You seem to be defying political gravity, if you will. A lot of people predicted after the immigration comment, oh, that's the end of Donald Trump, or the McCain comment, or any of the controversies, and the opposite happens. The polls go up, they don't go down. How do you explain that?
Well, if you look at the immigration, it was illegal immigration, and that was my comment, and the media really covered me incorrectly. They talked about Mexican, they talked about, I mean, they almost made things up. But my real comment was illegal immigration, and that turned out to be a big factor. And then you had, sadly, the killing of Kate in San Francisco, which was horrendous, with somebody that came into the country not once but 5 times.
Illegally.
And illegally, totally illegally. And just last night and yesterday you had a horrible killing where, same thing with the illegal, where a 66-year-old woman who was raped from the military, who was raped and beaten and tortured by this animal. And all of a sudden, you know, people are seeing these horrible crimes that are being committed by illegal.
642,000 crimes
it's terrible.
In Texas alone since 2008.
And that whole issue, I don't think you'd even be discussing it right now if it wasn't for me. So people realize I was right. And people that you would never think called me and apologized for what they said. So that worked out. I mean, unfortunately, they haven't solved the problem. But in terms of myself, people said he called it right. The McCain, I equate that with the vets, because John McCain and the establishment in Washington has treated the vets so badly. You know, 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, they had the longest wait in the history of the Veterans Administration. If you're waiting for a doctor, they waited for a longer period of time. And I'm talking about days. You know, you go to a doctor, you wait for 20 minutes, you're upset, right?
Right.
They're waiting days and days, sometimes 6 days, 7 days. In one case, they waited 5 days, and we finally got to a doctor. He said, I'm sorry, I'm going on vacation now. We can't let this happen to the vets. And I equate John McCain with the vets because he's been, you know, one of the people in charge, and he's done a very poor job. And the last incident we won't even discuss, but I think that I didn't say anything wrong.
Let me ask you, you keep talking about leverage as it relates to the third-party issue.
Yeah.
Let's assume you're treated fairly in the process. You didn't win the nomination. At that point, you would support the Republican candidate.
That's true. That's true. Now, I'd also like to see a candidate that I like and that I respect and that I agree with, okay? I'd never go to the other side.
Who are the people you respect?
Well, I don't want to go into that because I'm running against them. And frankly, the ones that I most respect, in certain cases, they have, you know, they have a little bit of a chance. I don't think a great chance because their poll numbers aren't so great right now. But I do respect numerous of the candidates. And actually, some I've gotten to know. And, you know, I like them and I respect them.
Hillary said your comments about women were offensive. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think I'll do more for women. I cherish women. I think I'll do more for women than Hillary can ever do. I think that I will take care. You know, I thought Jeb Bush made a horrible mistake when he blew the whole situation on women's health, you know, the women's health issue. A week ago, what he said was just unbelievable. Essentially, he's saying, I'm not going to fund it. And I think that will go down as Jeb Bush's 47%. The 47% to Romney, where probably cost him the election when he said that. He didn't know he was saying it, and it was a mistake, and it was too bad, but that probably cost him the election. I think Jebb's statement on women's health from a few days ago will go down as his 47%. I don't think you can recover from a statement. Then he goes back and he says he misspoke. Well, it was pretty late.
Let me ask you this. Hillary Clinton, her husband, has had all these problems with women. She hasn't said a word. If it's you versus Hillary, that fair game, that issue?
I guess it is. Look, he would have had a much different presidency if he didn't have Monica and all of these things that happened during his...
Oh, there was more than Monica. It was Kathleen Willey, it was Paula Jones, it was Juanita Broderick. And
so I guess it is. If anything, they probably won't be doing too much talking about it, but certainly it's fair game. I guess anything's fair game. If what I said the other day is fair game, and I said nothing wrong, I didn't even conclude the sentence, and, they're just sort of... I said you have to be a deviant to take what I said and put it into that.
Let me move to this, though. The Clinton Foundation, of which Hillary's a part, they took money from countries like the UAE, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. Women can't even drive.
Right.
I can't find a comment where she's been critical of Saudi Arabia. If she's going to say your comments are outrageous, what do you say back about her taking the money from a country that treats women horribly?
I understand it, and you know what? If you can take the money from even countries that treat horribly, in all fairness, I'm not defending anything, and she took money from me too. I gave money also to the Clinton Foundation, and I did it because I'm a businessman, and I want to have access. I need access. Don't forget, Sean, until 3 months ago, I was a world-class businessman. I built a great company, some of the most iconic assets in the world, 10 billion of net worth, more than 10 billion of net worth, and frankly, I had a great time doing it, and I wouldn't mind continuing, except I see the country going so badly. And the only reason I even mention that now is that's the kind of thinking, whether it's good or bad or whatever it is, but that's the kind of thinking that the country needs. We owe $19 trillion, going up rapidly. We have a country that's in collapse. We're going to have a problem like you've never seen. Once we get over that $21, $22 trillion mark, we're going to have a problem. And I'm really good at that stuff. And I know my competition, and they're not good at it. They wouldn't have a clue.
But do you think that the Clinton Foundation, when Hillary takes money from Saudi Arabia or these countries that treat women horribly, and then she's going to lecture you on comments you make about women, is that hypocrisy?
I think it probably turned out to be maybe not the right thing. Now, if you took that money, look, in all defense of her in this case, if she took that money and used it really for the good, but a lot of that money was used on private transportation.
Did they buy her silence? In other words, she hasn't been critical of them. She took the money for the foundation.
Well, you had not only that. How about the speeches, where you're getting millions and millions of dollars for speeches for companies, and some of these companies are not companies that really have the good of the United States at hand. So you can go outside of the foundation. I mean, to me, I look at the speech money, certainly the foundation money. Now, the foundation money is interesting because a lot of that money was used on private jet fare. That's a lot of money. A lot of money
per hour.
Yeah, I mean, private jets cost a lot of money. But when you look at the speeches and you add that to the foundations, and there's no question in my mind that certain of those things led to absolute approvals on other things, because she was Secretary of State. So that gets to be a very dangerous business. And then now you add the email scandal, because to me the email scandal is, hey, General Petraeus, for doing a tiny fraction of what she did, his life is destroyed. He's been ruined.
They found 4 classified emails. She said there weren't any, and that's only out of 40, and there's 60,000 emails total. Do you think she committed a crime?
I think she committed a crime. The problem that let's say everybody has in terms of finding out, you have Democrats are all the prosecutors, and they don't want to prosecute it. Did she commit a crime? Yes. Will they prosecute it? Perhaps no.
You were stunningly honest when you said, I give Hillary money, I know she'll take my call. Or Nancy Pelosi, I give her money, I'll take my call.
As a businessman.
So when the Saudis give her money, and all these other countries gave money, were they buying access to her?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. They were buying access.
So our system's really corrupt.
It's a bad thing. And I say that all the time. I say, hey, nobody knows the system better than I do, because I was on the other side of the system at the highest level. And people would come up, senators, speakers. I had people come up to my office, the biggest people in the world, and they'd say, money. Now, let me put it differently, and I discussed this with you before. I say, absolutely. I'm a businessman. Republican, I'm a conservative, but I'm a businessman. Let's say I say, no, I'm not going to give you anything. Congratulations, you're doing a wonderful job. The answer is no. Now, 2 years later, I go up to see them in Washington, and I need an approval for something. They're not going to give me the approval. And let me tell you something. That's a corrupt system. That's a bad system. When that happens, that's a bad system. When Jeb Bush raises $114 million, which he has, when Hillary raises $60 million, which he has, I know the people that gave him the money. These are not the nicest people in the world.
This system is at its root corrupt.
Well, Jeb Bush is totally controlled by the people that gave him that money. And the nice part about me, I don't want anybody's money.
You have $345 million in liquid assets. Are you prepared to spend that much money or more?
Well, you saw my income. My income's $400 million a year.
But are you prepared to spend it?
Sure, I would spend it if I'm doing well. Yeah. If I was in a position like, let's say, Senator, I mean, look, I don't want to use names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but the two guys, you know what's interesting? Lindsey Graham hit me harder than anybody. He's got 0. Perry hit me harder than anybody. Those were the two. And Perry was at 4 or 5, and he went down to 2 and went down to nothing, and now I guess he's out of the campaign. I think he's a nice guy, actually. I think he's just doing it. But what was interesting is the two people that hit me really hard. I mean, Perry went to Washington to make a speech about me. It wasn't nice, okay? I mean, it wasn't a nice speech. And he went from 4 or 5 down to 2 and didn't even make the debate stage. Lindsey Graham was at 2, and he went to nothing. So I'm really very honored by that.
And coming up, Donald Trump will explain how he will get Mexico to pay for the border wall if he is the next president of the United States. Plus, does he think Planned Parenthood should be defunded? His answer may surprise you. That's next. Stay with us.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Jackie Ibanez. Hillary Clinton agreeing to turn over her private computer server to the Justice Department. This is Fox News has learned 2 of the emails on the non-secure server were deemed top secret. The correspondence included sensitive information from the intelligence community. Mrs. Clinton has been criticized for using the non-secure server during her tenure as Secretary of State. Clinton has maintained none of the emails were classified when transmitted. Demonstrators are back on the streets in Ferguson, Missouri, where they have marked the 1-year anniversary of Michael Brown's death. So far, a couple of scuffles, but no reports of major violence tonight. Meantime, police releasing surveillance video of Sunday night's violent demonstrations, that is. The video, it shows an 18-year-old suspect holding a gun before being critically injured by police. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Now, back to Hannity.
Welcome back to Hannity. So earlier today, I asked Donald Trump to get specific about some of his policy positions, and here's what he had to say. Wall Street Journal says, where's the platform? Where are the details? I want to give you an opportunity to go over some of the issues, some of the things that you've discussed. Let's start with, you talked about Mexico. How quickly could you build the wall? How do you make them pay for the wall, as you said?
So easy. Will a politician be able to do it? Absolutely not. You know, it's funny. I watch some of the shows, and including your show, and I watch these guys say, oh, you can't get them to pay for them. We give them tens of billions of dollars a year. They are ripping us left and right. Their leaders are so much smarter than our leaders, Sean. They are ripping us left and right. The wall is peanuts. You know, it's interesting.
Is it a tariff?
In China, listen to this. In China, the Great China Wall. I mean, you want to talk about a wall. That's a serious wall, okay? That wall you don't climb over with a ladder. You don't even go under it, okay? That wall is 13,000 miles. If you add up everything in the kitchen sink with what we're talking about on our border, it's less than 2,000 miles. And a lot of it you don't have to do because you're covered with terrain and you're covered with areas that are already built. So let's say you're talking about 1,000 miles versus 13, and then they say you can't do it. It's peanuts. It's peanuts. And I will get Mexico, whether it's a tariff or whether they just give us the money. Sean, they need us so badly. And I'll be friends with Mexico. I'm going to have a great relationship with Mexico. We have a bad relationship with Mexico, and they're an abuser. China's an abuser. By the way, every country is an abuser because we have very stupid people representing us. They're incompetent.
So through a tariff, whatever it means necessary, you're going to say, if you want to do business with the U.S., you want to do business, you're going to help us with this.
You know how easy that is? They'll probably just give us the money. But then I watch politicians get on, because it's not their thing, Sean. I watch politicians come on. Can you imagine, Sean, he's saying Mexico's going to pay? They'll never pay. And I'm saying, that's like 100%. That's not like 98%. Sean, it's 100% they're going to pay. And if they don't pay, we'll charge them a little tariff. It'll be paid. But we need the wall. We have to stop these killers from coming in. When you look at all of the murders that are happening and all of the crime that's happening, and I've been saying, and I said it, Mexico is sending, they're very smart, Mexico is sending some rough people, some bad dudes, and you see some of those dudes.
It solves a lot of their social problems.
Not only social problems.
By keeping the border open,
you know how
ostensibly they're saying go.
Do you know how expensive it is to house these people in a prison where you have a killer, like the killer of Kate, or the killer of the woman yesterday who killed a 66-year-old woman and raped her and tortured her? Do you know how expensive it is to keep people like that? They haven't wanted to solve it. All right, let me ask you, again, go to specifics. Details. Go ahead. Obamacare. What's your alternative? Okay, so you can do the savings account concept, which is a concept that a lot of people... Healthcare savings accounts, which a lot of people are talking about, and a lot of people like, cost the country very little, cost the people very little, and they get the money when they don't need it. I mean, it's an amazing system. And I actually think that if you're a Democrat, you can go with it. Obamacare, by the way, is going to cost this country in 16. You know, 16 is where it really kicks in. $1.6 trillion. We can't afford it. And here's the problem. It's no good. It's no good.
Premiums are up on average 40% this year.
Oh, it's up and going up a lot more than that. Right. It's no good. How about the deductibles? The deductibles, unless you get hit by a truck, you're never going to even be able to use it.
Right.
So Obamacare is no good, doesn't work. One of the first things I do if I get elected, end Obamacare and do something really good. Whether it's that, one of the things we have to do is we have to get rid of these artificial state lines that were put in only for the insurance companies. They make a fortune.
In other words, portability, buying across state lines.
Portability, but really, when I want to bid in New York, I have a lot of people in New York, but I have a lot of states where I have people, right? I can't go to other states and bid. I get like one bid. I get one bid. Now, the insurance companies do that because they'd rather have 100% of New York than be all over the country. Problem is, it's not free market. If you get rid of those artificial lines that wrap New York, New Jersey, I want to bid my insurance from California. I want to have 100 bids come in. And I want to pick the best company, not even the lowest price, the best company, the best plan. Right now, I have
every American would have that choice.
Everybody would have that choice. But the insurance companies don't want that because they essentially have a monopoly.
Also, you get catastrophic insurance as part of that.
You get catastrophic, you get everything. You'd get a much better plan. You'd have a much cheaper insurance. And you know what? Other than the one thing, you would want the country. Oh, the only thing I'd want from the government, I want to make sure those companies are very solid and strong. So maybe they even get a little point or something and they guarantee it. Because the one thing you don't want is a company goes bust and you're sitting there and you paid all your life into this, company. You don't want that to happen.
You'd protect people with pre-existing conditions. You'd protect...
I would do that. I would do it. You can get everything in Obamacare, but much more. Look, in Obamacare, for the most part, a lot of people, they don't have their doctor, they don't have the plan they want.
And the price went up.
And they can't use it because the deductible's so high. Not that they want to use it, but they can't use it. Unless you get hit by a truck, you can't even use it. So it doesn't work. So Obamacare is a disaster. It's going to be ended, and it's going to cost the country so much. You talk about a deficit. What are we going to do when Obamacare kicks in? Now, Obama will be playing golf very intelligently, probably on one of my great courses like Doral or something. And he'll be playing golf, and we'll let him play. I'll say, it's great. You have the President of the United States. I don't mind. Let him play. And he'll have a good time. But you know what? That's 16. He'll be playing golf, and somebody's going to be saddled with a huge problem.
Let me ask you, you talked about Planned Parenthood. Another example, talk about a war on women. Look at the number of abortions they perform every year. $500 million taxpayer money goes to them. You said you would have shut down the government to defund them. You also talked about some of the good things that they do.
They do good things.
Should the taxpayers pay?
Defund having to do with the abortion.
Should taxpayers give, with the debt we have, 128 trillion in unfunded liabilities, should we even give them a penny?
Okay, so look, let's say there's two Planned Parenthoods in a way. You have it as an abortion clinic. Now, that's actually a fairly small part of what they do, but it's a brutal part, and I'm totally against it, and I wouldn't do that. They also, however, service women. And one of the things that I thought was so terrible when Jeb Bush the other day talked, as we said, when he talked about women's health issues, he was so bad. I mean, it's like, what is he doing? We have to help women. A lot of women are helped, so we have to look at the positives also for Planned Parenthood. Even a guy like you may be convinced that it does some positive things. I would look at it very strongly. We have to help women. As far as the abortion stuff, absolutely.
But if they are doing abortions, then they can allocate their other resources to other things. The government, right. Why should the taxpayers pay for an organization that...
Maybe unless they stop with the abortions, we don't do the funding for the stuff that we want. There are many ways you can do that, Sean, because I'm totally against the abortion aspect of Planned Parenthood. But I've had many women, I've had many Republican conservative women come up and say Planned Parenthood serves a good function other than that one aspect.
And coming up, find out what Donald Trump says he has in common with Ronald Reagan. Plus, Trump gets specific about how he would turn around the economy and answers his conservative critics. That and more as Hannity continues. Welcome back to Hannity, and here is more of my interview with the one and only Donald Trump from earlier today. Let me go back to solutions and details.
Okay.
Your critics say you haven't given any. You're giving them today.
Well, I'm giving a lot.
93 million Americans now out of the labor force.
Right.
57 million of those are women. 46 million Americans are on food stamps. 50 million Americans are in poverty. Staggering numbers.
It's amazing.
When you think
and then you hear there's a 5.4% unemployment.
Okay.
It's not 5.4.
It's a lie.
It's really, if you add it up, it's probably 40% if you really think about it.
It's high, and it's only Washington math that gives you that number.
It's phony math.
Here's my question. So when you think about your economic plan and you think of those statistics, what are the top three things that come to your mind specifically that you can do to help the 93 million, the 57 million American, the 50 million in poverty?
Sure. I love the question because this is my strength.
Right.
You know, a competitor of yours did a big poll. I won't say it was CNN, okay, because I want.
Yeah,
but they did a big poll, okay? And the poll came out.
By the way, trying to to monitor what you're going to say,
right.
It's a futile attempt. Go right ahead.
Okay. I refuse to say it was CNN. but they did this poll, and it was a very very comprehensive poll. And they had me number one in leadership by far. And the other thing I was really number one on was anything having to do with the economy, okay? Jobs, et cetera, et cetera. I was so high up. I mean, the other people, there was like no number two practically. We have to bring our jobs back from China. As an example, we have to bring manufacturing back. You look at Japan with the boats that come in, pouring in with cars. You know what we send Japan? We send them beef. We send them wheat.
What about American cars?
Corn. Okay? I want American cars. I don't mind. If Japanese companies build here, that's fine. But you know what? I don't want to see boats pulling into Los Angeles because I saw boats the other day that were the biggest boats I've ever seen, loaded up. You wouldn't even believe the thing could float. So many cars. And then you see these cars just boom, boom. They're not made here. How is it helping us? I don't want cars made in Mexico. I love Mexico. I love the Mexican people. I have so many Mexicans working for me now. And by the way, buying apartments and doing everything else. I have a great relationship with Mexico. People are just starting to find out. And by the way, in Nevada, as you heard, they just did a poll. I was number one in the poll with Hispanics. I was number one with Hispanics. Anyway, but that doesn't help us from the standpoint that their leaders are so much sharper. And I use the word cunning. They're more cunning than our leaders.
What is the tariff on an American car?
Well, they make cars in Mexico. They just send them across the border. How does it help us? I went to the Wharton School of Finance. Tell me, how does it help us? It doesn't help us.
Were you really number one in your class?
I was a good student.
Yeah.
I was a very good student. People are shocked by that, but I was actually a very good student.
Let me go back to let me ask you one question before we get back to specifics. Some conservatives are suspect about your conservatism. They say, all right, well, you once supported, you gave money to Clinton, you went to Clinton's wedding, or she came to your wedding. You once supported a single payer. You wanted a one-time tax on the wealthy. To those that doubt your conservatism, explain the transition. How did you grow into a conservative?
Okay, I mean, it's sort of easy to explain. Now, one of the things I always start with, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, and he was sort of liberal. And I knew him. I didn't know him then quite, but I knew him. And I knew him well. He liked me. I liked him. He was like this great guy. And he was a Democrat with a liberal bent. And he became a great conservative, in my opinion.
Sure, one of the greatest presidents.
By the way, and a great president, and a great leader, he had something very special. But if you think of it, he was a little bit less conservative, actually, than people think.
When he was a governor, sure.
He had a great heart. And I have a great heart. That's why I'm talking about, when we mentioned Planned Parenthood, there are some positives, et cetera, et cetera. We've got to take care of our women. We've got to take care of our people. But if you look at some of the things I said at the time, that was many, many years ago, I wouldn't have minded taking a piece of my wealth and paying off the national debt. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Now we can't do it. It's so humongous. It's so. At that time, we could have paid off the entire national debt, and we could have started the game all even.
With a balanced budget amendment to support it.
Absolutely, and that's what I said. And I wouldn't have minded doing that, Sean. And I took some heat. People say, "Oh, what a terrible thing! That's not a very conservative thing to do." I think it's a very conservative thing.
Would you still support it?
I would take The problem is we owe so much now. I mean,
it's impossible.
It's more money than all the wealthy
Wouldn't it hurt
guys.
the economy because they spend less on business?
I think we got to get rid of the. We have a problem.
I want to get to that in a minute.
And the problem is the 19 trillion, because I was saying 18, but now it's really 19.
It's going to be 20.
And very soon, the next time you interview me, it's going to be 21, 22, 24. It's out of control, and nobody's doing anything about it. And honestly, with trade, with smart deals, Carl Icahn is a friend of mine. He's a great businessman. I spoke to Carl. Carl would love, I mean, you could call him. You should have him on your show sometime. A very, very smart guy, brilliant guy. He wants to help. He said, Donald, if you're involved, I want to help you. I said, Carl, you take China and Japan. Guess what? If I put him in charge and Wall Street, he said yes. He'll do whatever I want. He's a patriot. He loves the country, and you know what? He's made a lot of money. He's done great stuff. He would love to do this. Me too. I love what I'm doing outside of this, and actually, I'm enjoying this more than I thought. To be honest, it helps with all these polls coming.
You're liking all this.
I don't know if I'd like it if I was down to 2%, but Carl Icahn is a great businessman. He would love to be able to help.